really much everyone for getting connected to this first FrenchTech Singapore blockchain event. We're really happy because it's really something which, have been organized really recently. We remember maybe earlier. Oh, if you can put on mute, if you don't mind, unless you want to say something. And great thanks for joining. It's really nice to have you here. There is a lot of different chapters on the FrenchTech Singapore. On my side, personally, before joining this one, I was not really aware. And thanks, Amel, for kind of educating us on what it was all about. And it's true that earlier this year, there were no blockchain chapter. So we thought it was a good idea, but to create one. And today, this is a kickoff. And we are really happy. The team, the few persons which are on the panel, were really contributing to the development of this session today and the future session. So let's get started. But what we would like to propose you today, a quick intro, but why are we doing that, where we come from. Today it's a really generic session. We will not have any deep dive on any tricky specific topic about blockchain, on finance or crypto on the industry. It's pretty much having a kind of snapshot about what's happening in terms of a market outlook of the blockchain, what are the kind of use case. We have even a small video. And the complexity here is that we are all coming from a different background. We have people very advanced in blockchain for finance, some just here to discover who have an interest. So today it will be very generic, and we hope that in the coming sessions you will tell us really what you are interested in, and then we can have some more specific and focused sessions for the next month. All right, so if you can unmute if nobody is talking. Thanks a lot. There is some echo. All right, so yes, as I just say, we have a group of 5 people which are attending the panel today, 5 or 6.
Hello?
Yeah. Yes, hello. Yeah, if you can put on mute, thank you. And why? What are the key driver of this to create another chapter? And the idea here is absolutely really focus on the developing the networking among the FrenchTech blockchain community in SG in Singapore. But not only Singapore. So Singapore is absolutely key. We are living here, even with the restriction that we know. But the idea is more to gather the people who have a common interest, create networking for personal or professional interests. We think that it could be as well interesting to propose multiple sessions for knowledge sharing, and being a bit different to all the tutorials you can have on YouTube, all the training you can have online. There is no way and no interest to redo the same thing that everybody can have access by yourself. But pretty much by creating this community, be open to some questions, some support or anything. And as you said at the beginning, Aurore, yes, we have a WhatsApp group. For the moment, this is our main communication stream. Again, we all hope that one day we can meet up in a bar or in a restaurant, but seems not the case in the short term. And we are quite happy because in a few months' time, we have around 100 of members connected to this WhatsApp group. So, and again, everybody is welcome. Don't hesitate to spread it around. That will be very much appreciated. So, having said that, if for those who remember when we created this chapter, who is the audience? And it's very complicated. Again, people are coming from different backgrounds and different blockchain maturity level. We launched a survey being what it is, but at least it gave us a kind of rough ideas about what are the key areas that the members are interested in. And we should certainly revive that session after session or at certain point of times. And here there is the 4 main area of interests are the following ones. So the fintech, finance overall, which is by far the biggest area of interest. Everything about decentralized finance, asset tokenization, trade finance, and so on. And we have a few experts able to talk about it. The blockchain use case for industry, so let's say the non-finance somehow, and how this technology could be applied and deliver value for an energy, supply chain, healthcare, or aviation, or for governments. and there is a lot of startups very active as well on this area. Some are really interested, but more having an entrepreneur view about the blockchain. How an investor will react who are talking to a blockchain startup, how to move from a proof of concept to a real product, what kind of lessons learned we can share by people who've been through these processes, through your startup or your corporate or your companies, to really move from ideas to product, to solution. And last but not least, the fourth topic, which again, we hope to be able to present and to have some specific session, is about the technical side of the blockchain. You have some hardcore technical guys a part of the group, and there is some areas I would like to look at where hopefully we can help. Is more the platform approach, standardization, coding, interoperability, or how to deploy or monitor blockchain nodes. So this is very focused on the technical side. So just to sum up, pretty much the 4 areas. So again, today it's a generic session, it's a kickoff. We'll not go into all details, but based on your feedback and your interests, we'll kind of wait and try to propose some future session based on those four axes. All right, so I will stop talking because now let's move into another section. Blockchain, so what's happening today? It's mostly for beginners and the people who would really want to have a kind of 2-minute elevator pitch of what is blockchain. We had a really small video we can share right now, and after that we'll move into we'll hand over to Miguel for a bit more on stats, and then we'll go to the panel.
Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum have been getting a lot of hype lately. And while some investors believe that these coins could be the future of money, other experts believe that what's actually more valuable is the underlying technology. It's known as blockchain. It's basically a public list of transactions, a more transparent record. You can think of this digital ledger like a game of dominoes. The blockchain is powered by a decentralized network of computers that all work on the same task. No one owns the system, everyone helps run it. Whenever a transaction is initiated between 2 computers, it has to be certified by another. That makes it difficult for anyone to cheat. For the sale to go through, a bunch of mining computers have to try and solve a cryptographic puzzle, sort of like a really complicated math problem. Once one computer solves that puzzle, a record of the successful transaction gets added to the list for everyone to see. All additions are permanent, so no one can delete or change the data. You can only keep adding. You may be asking yourself, what's so great about this glorified list? Well, since the ledger can't be changed after the fact, getting away with fraud is a lot harder. Blockchain advocates also argue that this technology cuts out the middleman by fulfilling the role of institutions like banks and government agencies. This means more direct access to your property, not to mention the possibility of much smaller transaction fees. Sounds promising, but does it live up to the hype? The exchange of cryptocurrencies is a clear use case, but blockchain could also be useful for other types of record keeping. Let's say you're a farmer and you lose the deed to your land in a fire or a flood. If the government lost your paperwork too, you may be out of luck. But if you uploaded that deed to the blockchain, it's easy to prove that you own that land. In fact, people are experimenting with blockchain technology in a variety of places. From preventing voter fraud, to storing health records, to authenticating memes on the internet. Even the very institutions blockchain threatens to disrupt are exploring the technology's possibilities, with companies like Bank of America investing in their own blockchain tools. But for right now, those experiments are still in the early stages. And it might be a while before we see the kind of crazy blockchain takeover that the media is talking about.
All right. All right, so just to conclude on this part, there is one thing which is clear, is that blockchain is not equal to finance of crypto. I think we saw it's one of the massive use cases, but there is a lot of other area in the industry that we can see where this technology, which has some key attributes about data sharing, aggregation, the security, consensus of events, can be really useful in the industry. So travel industry, there's a lot of use cases around. We can see as well on the insurance, human resources, education, how to make sure that your diploma will be bulletproof. And of course, automotive, about part tracking. We saw that as well on the other areas, such as in aerospace. And recently we saw in healthcare, how to prove your vaccination or your COVID test. So there's multiple kind of application. And again, we'll not be able to cover all of those today, of course. It will be certainly and hopefully a topic on the for specific session. And I will now hand over to Miguel, who will give us some other perspective about the blockchain market. Miguel, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Arnaud. As you can see in the previous slide, more and more companies are starting to realize the benefits of transforming their business operations and move to a blockchain operation, right? Some organizations have been pushed because of the current situation with the COVID, or their own limitations on supply chain, etc. When they see they are very central or vertical operated, right? So they need to open up their system to other companies to work in a better way. But there is also some new opportunities being created, right? Like I think one of my colleagues will mention later, like the NFTs or all these different new developments, which is very exciting, right? So it's very exciting. So this slide just shows broadly the key indicators that show that something is going on. This is based on IDC's source data, clearly showing that banking is leading by, it takes account 30% of the projects is mostly finance, followed by manufacturing and other financial and professional services, right? That is expected by 2025 that this value will be worth like around 40 billion, going from all the way from 3 billion to 40 billion by 2025. And also a good number, I think, is highlighted here, is there is around 6,000 blockchains started registered on angel list. That really shows that there is some momentum and something is going on here. So can we pass to the next slide? Yeah, this slide is just summarize the crypto market, right? Just to give you a glance of what's going on in the crypto. Sorry, can we just go back? Yeah, if you look at the bottom left, I'm not going to explain what's crypto, how it works for all this, just to give you an overview about crypto. Just listed on the bottom left, the top 10 crypto based on market capitalization and trading volume. All this data come from CoinMarketCap, right? Everyone knows about Bitcoin and Ethereum, but there are other coins out there, right? Like the Binance coin, the Tether, Polkadot, and all other coins. Today, the fact is that crypto is real, and people keep speculating. You have, the haters, the people, supporters. The reality, this market is worth today $2.2 trillion. Half of that is owned by, is worth based on Bitcoin. And between Bitcoin and Ethereum, you have already 65% of the market. So that means like we have a very long tail of all lesser known coins, what we call alternative coins. And that represents a 600 million investment opportunity if you happen to have the time to understand what they do, how they do it. But everyone is trying to solve some problems somehow. So this is the big picture that I want to present about crypto. The next slide, sorry, I just go back. Just I want to do a disclaimer. So there is a lot of opportunities here. So just be mindful of what you do and do your own research before investing. It's still very highly volatile. I wouldn't advise just go buy and this and that. You really need to know what are you doing. So just be careful. But it also has a lot of opportunities. The next slide. The next slide is about decentralized finance, right? So, the popular name DeFi, everyone is talking about. Just let's get back and just conceptualize what decentralized finance is. So it's based on the idea that DeFi is based on the idea that financial services, right, shouldn't be just controlled or depending on centralized intermediaries such as bank, exchanges, or any insurance, right? But rather it should be provided by users for users using some kind of software or smart contracts, using some kind of peer-to-peer technology, blockchains such as Ethereum and others. So that's the basic definition about decentralized finance. So we just pick one use case, which is very relevant. I think most people already in the DeFi space on crypto, they know very well about Uniswap. We use it, I use it. It is basically a decentralized exchange. So some people before Uniswap, in order to buy cryptos or alternative tokens, what you do is you just go to your decentralized exchange and you place an order and just wait, or you just, depending what you do. So this gives us a freedom to have something truly decentralized, not trusting only the big names that we have, like, in the US here. I don't want to mention the specific names of the exchange, but that you're probably using. So this gives the Uniswap protocol is very interesting because a few characteristics that brought that innovation. It is decentralized first. It's non-custodial, meaning that every user has access to their own digital assets, and it's not like the exchange X is taking care of your digital assets and managing. If some hacker come and your money disappear, you lose everything. But now it's you acting and being responsible and mindful of what you do with your own crypto. And it's also the other innovation that brought here is there is no such it has no booking order like the typical trading kind of application they have. Here I want to go back to the graph, and we'll look very briefly the history, which is not very long. We're talking about an industry by itself that have less than 3 years. And then we can see in this specific case, Uniswap, we just started in November 2018, launching version 1, with merely $30,000 US in investment. And then between April to September 2020, it grew just remarkably how fast it grew. It went from 169 million to 15 billion, which is insane. It's like 100x kind of increase. Today, Uniswap is worth around $19 billion, and it trades every day at $1 billion. So here you have also other examples, synthetic, MicroDAO. We just put in just as a reference to see that this snapshot just shows how fast they can go in these kind of applications called decentralized finance, and which people keep building on top of each other. Like you can have some applications that can build on top of that. Just to sum up, like the last number is like just insane. You can see in these 3 years we accumulated $18.15 billion US, just that it has been investing in DeFi. So it's a very exciting time to be in this space. I don't know about you, but I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. So thank you for giving Greece this high level status on the finance. And again, it was just to brush up a bit where we are. I suggest that now we hand over to Amel to start a bit to question and to tell us about what's happening behind the slide.
Thank you, both of you. So as we just have seen, blockchain is used in diverse technology and in multiple sectors and industry. And today our panel will touch down only some of them, because we have here some experts on different verticals. So it will be just an introduction on what is blockchain, how it could impact or is already impacting diverse industries. I will propose to introduce ourselves for like 30 seconds, so we could have some time for the panel. I will begin with myself. So I'm Amel Rigneau. I'm a founder of DigitalMind Media, and we accelerate the startups growth here in Asia. Go ahead, Arnaud, Brolly.
Hello. So back again. Good evening, morning, everyone. So my name is Arnaud Brolly, and I'm a global blockchain lead for SITA, SITA.io, with technology vendors developing solutions for airline, airport, and borders.
Aurore?
Yep, so nice to meet you. My name is Aurore. I'm working in digital innovation at Singapore Airlines. So working with many startups, and I've been working in the blockchain space for a few years, maybe 2-3 years, something like this. So nice to meet you.
Miguel?
Yeah, Miguel. I am sales and marketing director for my own company, SOLUNA London. So it's a retail luxury kind of company. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I have different other projects, and I'm very passionate about decentralized technology, and also crypto investors.
The other Arnaud?
Hello, so I'm Arnaud Boulay. I'm VP Sales and actually a co-founder of ENDURALINK. We are a startup specializing in IoT, actually industrial IoT, and we develop solutions for to address massive networks. So meaning that it's not dozens, it can be up to millions of sensors that we manage all at once. And this is critical because we talk about industry here, and it's critical for monitoring conditions, for monitoring processes, for predictive maintenance, all this kind of stuff. And I'm keen on blockchain because this is a technology that is obviously quite, linked to what we do with IoT.
And the last one, but not least, Guilhem.
Good evening. I'm Guilhem Vincens. I'm head of change and innovation for ABN AMRO Bank in Asia Pacific, and I'm involved in projects mainly in trade finance and digital assets.
So welcome everyone. I think we'll begin with you. Miguel has blockchain, probably the beginning of the blockchain was on the finance aspect, but first can you explain to us what was the philosophy behind the blockchain technology and how everything has begun?
Well, it's a long topic. I will try to be short. I think it all started with Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Like with this breakthrough solving a problem that, this blockchain and decentralized technology is being around for 30 years, like in the research, in computer science, in economy, etc. They were playing with different ideas, how to create a payment system, how to create digital cash and exchange it. But they always find out that there was always a problem that they call the double spend, which is just basically say, how do you prove that you have the payer and the payee and the payer, the payer didn't already spend the money that you would receive. So this kind of so Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever who was able to propose this in a very informal paper, saying, I think I solved this problem, and they call peer-to-peer payment system, which turns out is the most successful today application in blockchain today, as we know, Bitcoin. That's how it started, right? And then that was in 2009, and then 2014, Vitalik Buterin came with a different set of ideas and say, okay, this is just a layer. It just counts what's in, what's out, but it doesn't do much. So if we want to add some some logic or business logic to this, we need to create like some kind of abstraction to allow them to. So he created Ethereum with the smart contract capability that allowed to incorporate business logic, right? And then the whole industry moved from 2014. There've been many projects going up and down, different alternatives. In 2017, there was a big ICO fever, right? Like a lot of projects coming on, people, investors just joining, throwing a lot of money, because this is a nascent industry. It's like the internet in the early 90s, right? We just created protocol, and then with the protocol, we want to create websites. I want you to make this kind of parallel. So we just have the protocol is being based, the HTTP kind of thing, and then it's up to each company to build their website, the Amazon or the Google or whatever that still need to be developed. So it's very exciting time. So after this 2017 fever, like where people get very greedy, investing a lot of money in cryptos, and cryptos was very volatile, people lose money, they get some money. We went to a quiet period for a year and a half, and then DeFi just came back with what were the roots of we want to have a system that is somehow is more redistribute wealth, more open, accessible, decentralized. So with this principle, just this movement that they call open finance was translated now to what is it today, DeFi, right? And then we saw in this DeFi origins in the slides that is also very booming and very innovative space, that almost you hear news almost every day something new is happening, right? So it's very exciting.
So I understand that the market is not really mature yet because, as you said,
it is hard to say is mature or not mature because one thing is you put the numbers and when you see, okay, this thing is worth 1 trillion or this thing will worth 100 million, and you try to compare with something that you really know about data or AI, and you will not find something that is, because the possibilities of the transformation or the possibilities that can enable different business model that was not possible to do before is just a catalyst. It's something that is totally different, right? I think it is mature enough to prove that it works. I wouldn't judge on specifics about the technicalities, about the technical performance, or all of environmental kind of issues, or all other things that can be discussed separately. So when you look at the whole blockchain, you need to see from different perspectives, right?
Yeah, exactly. And regarding, so you earlier talked a lot about crypto and DeFi, or not a lot, but a few minutes at least. What are the main challenges? Even I'm sure that we will set up a specific session on this topic, but what are the main challenges?
Well, the main challenge is even for how do you explain to my family when, I've been doing some research, and the research shows like we live in a very narrow number of people really know and get what crypto is and what the possibilities are, not only as investment, but also on the underlying technology. So we have a problem. We don't have a mass adoption, right? We have created this kind of barriers of using a lot of jargon, throwing you DeFi or cryptocurrency, or and then the layman people that just listen to whatever you're saying is like you are talking to them in a totally foreign language that they don't understand. So we need to solve that kind of education. There is a lack of knowledge. There is a necessary way to put a lot of fancy words, keywords, trying to mask things just to make you look like you are more intelligent than you really are. So yeah, there are many challenges, but there are people working on this, on how to bring it kind of more mainstream. I also very interested in this kind of thing, so I'm also willing to hear from the survey of the people at the level of understanding. How do they get by with understanding crypto and blockchain applications? So I'm strongly supported to make it simpler, to make create applications that are easier, even abstracting all this complexity of protocols and how they work, to just make it just work. Before it was like this, and now it's like this, and then you have 10 times better, or you get more money, or your ROI is better, right? So
really, the lack of knowledge is the
yeah, at different levels, because you have lack of knowledge. People hear now, sometimes I hear people say, oh, I heard Bitcoin. I say, oh, scammers or fraud or whatever. And they don't know more, but just the perception, right? Like,
no, but there was many scams, so.
There was and there is. That's why I'm asking people to do their own due diligence, to be very careful what they do. But also, probably it's because I'm an entrepreneur. I like risk, and I like also to see the opportunities out there, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it wouldn't fit everyone's taste. Like, it's not a cup of tea. But I think there is a lot of things that it can, not only knowledge, but things that you can build today. As I say, as a parallel, is the internet at the time in the 90s. And you are about to create your new app. You are about to create probably your own Twitter or your own Amazon, right? So
and there is another hype subject, which is token and tokenization of assets. And what is it exactly? Because we heard from the beginning of the year big words like NFC in art, in sport, and so on. Guilhem, is it a trend or a real way to invest?
It's a real way to invest. So So until now, Miguel focused on crypto, which are native digital assets. What I'm going to talk about are backed digital assets. So tokenization refers to the creation of digital contracts that are held in blockchain system and which underpin a real world asset. Like it could be a financial asset like a bond, an equity, a fund. It can be a non-financial asset like a real estate or art. It can be a commodity like gold. In theory, it can be everything as long as it is backed by real assets outside the ledger. So there is a lot of excitement on the market, and the reason is because one, you have potential speed and cost efficiency because you're skipping intermediaries. So the investor acts as a direct counterparty. Mm. You also have real-time clearing and settlement because now you have in the blockchain you can implement smart contracts that automate a number of processes. You also have a better transparency because you can record the beneficial ownership. You have fractional ownership. It means that today, if you own a bond, you can actually fractionalize it and therefore sell it to different people. Same thing for real estate. If you own an apartment, you can sell into pieces, and they're basically tokens. So you can have multiple owners of the apartment, and if you rent it, everyone will get part of the rent according to the share that they have in tokens. It also increased retail access because it means this kind of asset classes that were not available to a number of investors are now. So if you want to invest in a bond in a classic way today, you need at least 200K. If you want to buy real estate, it's also quite a large number. But if you can buy a token as low as 1,000 or 100, then everybody can do it. It also improves liquidity. And a good example is private equity. Private equity, when you buy private equity, first the entry ticket is large, but also you cannot sell it. You have to keep it for a long time, maybe 5 to 10 years. So it's going to create a secondary market that's going to be a sweet spot because it's going to create liquidity. And it's going to also increase liquidity of assets that are illiquid. For instance, the debt of an SME. If you want to fractionalize and sell it, it's much easier. That today it's totally illiquid. So I guess you're gonna ask me if it is so good.
Exactly.
Why hasn't taken off yet?
Come on.
So first, I want to say that it has taken off. You can find all those tokens already in production, but I have to admit they're not mainstream, and there is several reasons for it. First is if you're a financial institution or you're corporate and you want to issue this kind of token, do we have a solid business rationale? And it's very true in a niche. If you're saying, okay, I'm going to do it for some asset classes like SME, equity or debt. But if you do it for equity, it's already working very well. So you probably will not get a business case. Then you may ask the question, is it a priority for a financial institution? If you look at in Singapore, I guess the priority is how they can compete against fintech, the robot advisor, how they can have more automation in their back offices, rather than how I can offer tokens to my client. Then there is risks that are inherent to a DLT, like the scalability, the governance, the operation risk. Then you have potential gaps in legal and regulatory framework, because the blockchain is by definition decentralized, and tokens can easily move from one jurisdiction to another, and therefore there is a gap there. And then you may have issues in digital identity, in anti-money laundering, in detecting financial crime. And I will finish by saying that the the last thing is investor protection, because if you're able to tokenize anything, I can tokenize, and it already exists. You can tokenize a hedge fund, you can tokenize a private equity, but do you understand what you're really buying? It means it's difficult then to have an authorization to sell to a retail investor. Probably you can only go down to accredited investor. And also, do you understand the counterparty? Because as it was explained, you don't have any bank as intermediary or any CDP or anyone, and therefore you run the risk, the counterparty risk. So I hope it helps to give an overview of tokens.
The point is that it's really a hot topic right now, and has a lot of people don't know where to invest. It's a new way of investment, but I'm really aware about all the difficulties and all the potential scam or no regulation. But I think, and as we see it on the press, it's really a lot of people are asking questions around it. So probably we will have also a session on this subject.
Yes, though on tokenization of these kind of assets, I haven't seen any scam, to be honest, because the companies that are selling that, they're regulated already. So MA is already regulating those companies offering these kind of tokens.
But in every industries, like sport, art, and so on, not only on financial part. In real estate and the financial instrument like funds, hedge funds, private equity, clearly it's already there. Art, I haven't seen it in Singapore yet. No.
I've seen something in the US, but I'm sure it will be coming.
Okay, so let's move to another topic. I will quote a journalist who said that blockchain is to Bitcoin what the internet is to email. A big electronic system on top of which you can build application. Currency is just one. Aurore, I believe you could not agree more with me on that. So in supply chain, we have already passed the POX phases, and some real cases are already implemented. Could you share some user case, and also what are the benefits and the challenges around it?
Yeah, thanks, Amel. So yeah, as you say, actually, there's many different areas where blockchain is actually taking some traction right now, and supply chain is, in terms of B2B market, is definitely one of them. So the idea is like supply chain is a very fragmented industry. There's many different players, and who says very fragmented says a lot of data which is in silo and very little interoperability between all these different actors. So if we take an example, for example, of supply chain blockchain in aviation, let's say we're sending a shipment of fish from Singapore to France via Dubai. So there's the shipper who's going to send the shipments. There's a freight forwarder who's going to take it to the airport. There's a ground handler who's going to put it in the container. The airline who's going to fly it with in the middle the customs. And when you arrive, you also have the same actors again. So some a second ground handler, a second customs, second freight forwarder, and then finally you arrive to the consignee. So on one single trade line, you can have more than 10 different custodians for one single shipment. So that's quite a lot, and it creates actually some disparities of data where everybody have part of the information, but not everybody is connected, so that we have a full transparency and traceability of that shipment. So the problems faced and the pain points today is, for example, let's say that a shipment of fish stays on the tarmac in Dubai for 6 hours. So basically, under the sun, it's nobody's gonna eat that fish, and you need to destroy actually that shipment, because it's not gonna be allowed in any customs in terms of clearance. So the problem today is that maybe the ground handler in Dubai will notice that, okay, we have a problem with that container, but he'll only tell to the person before him. So maybe that airline which shipped it to Dubai, and the airline would go one step backward as well until it comes to the shipper, and that takes a lot of time. Actually, this access to information is a problem, and the shipper will need to reorder actually all these shipment of fish, and maybe the consignee who was waiting for this in order to launch a marketing campaign or something to supply his clients will be having a pain point as well. So the idea of blockchain is that instead of having people connect only on one-to-one, is that all these ecosystem actually of partners can connect to one single blockchain, so that you can have both better sharing of data. Of course, with some visibility rules, you don't want to share all the data to everybody, but you can also use this data to enable some ecosystem processes. So for example, for this shipment of fish, if we knew directly that there was a disruption, then that can trigger an alert and automatically, through some smart contracts, create some automation of shared process across the whole ecosystems. So that have like many different, can help in many different ways. So you have less time that you spend to access the information. You can streamline some ecosystem processes so that you can have faster reaction to disruptions. And overall, that can really help in terms of cost reduction and even improving your revenues, because you have like a better transparency on the supply chain. So that can be very, very helpful. So both on all actors have benefits. Everybody may have different ones, but they're all around the area of transparency and traceability.
So where are the downsides?
So the complications comes more on the fact that you have to align everybody on this ecosystem of partners together. So in B2B, there's a lot of consortiums of blockchain which have launched in the way that you have to align all these partners together on things like who writes when on the blockchain, what are the visibility rules, because there's some cooperation but also some competitions between partners. So of course you need to be aligned on who can see what. There's some process mapping and some process automation which you can trigger through some smart contracts. So you need to align all this together. And in general, this area has been growing quite a lot in the maritime industry, as well as in the aviation industry, where there's a few initiatives which launched. Some have like more than 100 members right now. So aligning everybody, setting up this governance and the structure of this consortium is something which is under development right now. I think also in terms of supply chain, it not only help on transparency and traceability, but it can also extend to the area of trade finance. And yeah, I guess we can.
Oh, it's an excellent transition to Guilhem. Can you talk more about trade finance and how it will reduce the cost?
Yeah, I didn't align with Aurore, but I could have said the same thing. So yeah, it's amazing because trade finance forms the foundation of the global financial system, and strangely, the tedious paper documentation process to minimize risk has barely changed in the last century. So. Or gave a good example, but I have mine as well. If I ship avocado from Kenya to Rotterdam, it's going to entail more than 200 communication involving 30 parties. So the shipment is going to take 34 days from farms to retailer, and it's going to include 10 days waiting for documents to be processed. So there is many pain points. You have a complex process, you have slow turnaround times, you have, it's paper-based, manual documentation, it's limited connectivity between the parties involved, it's a lack of one-stop solution, it's limited access to credit, it's high transaction fee. You have plenty of players. You have the producer, the importers, exporters, commodity houses, freighters, banks, warehouses, custom ports. So as it was mentioned before, the idea is that if you can have all the stakeholders for transaction present on the same interoperable network, with access to a verifiable transaction in real time, it would eliminate intermediaries and simplify processes. And that's what you see now coming up, is this kind of platform, blockchain based. Because why blockchain? Because you need the trust. You need to bring the trust that is missing between all those players. That's the key word, is why a blockchain platform rather than a centralized platform, is because blockchain provide the trust by the immutability and the traceability. So it's a big leap forward, because the blockchain include smart contract I mentioned earlier, and smart contract, it's a line of code that triggers automatically commercial action. So if if the goods arrive at this place, you can release the fund and so on.
So
and
it's already live. It's real.
Yes, it's live. Where it's live with plenty of banks. It's live with plenty of corporates in the supply chain. It's not fully scale everywhere, because you have problems with companies that have legacy systems that cannot be connected. You have problems with the regulation. You have problems, legal one. If you have a problem on the importation of goods and you go to court, does your digital document has the same value as a paper document? You have things like that. But it was interesting to mention it today, because also compared to like crypto and so on, the technology is the same, but it's on distributed ledger technology called permission, private. So people tend to mix that blockchain can be dangerous, but actually, if you create your permission blockchain, it means that only the participants to the blockchain are connected to it. And that's, in this case, what you can do with your importer, banks, freighters, warehouses, and therefore it's private.
So it will be, in the future, it will be many blockchain conglomerates or partnership in different kind of.
I think it's spot on, Amel. The question from everyone is, what is the interoperability? Because if you have several blockchains, how are they going to talk to each other? So I think there is going to be some consolidation of this blockchain platform. That's one. And two, indeed, there is a number of tech companies working on this interoperability among the blockchains.
Yeah. Like APIs for software, or
sort of, yes.
Okay. Okay, I want to move a little bit to another topic, which is Industry 4.0. So Arnaud, could you explain a little bit to us what are the main contribution of the technology, the blockchain technology? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So perhaps first, we are not. We discussed all the hype and speculation around cryptocurrencies and blockchain. This actually, it is for good reason, but I think it's a bit less, hype and speculation for the industry, but the revolution is there. Okay, perhaps let me start by drawing the big picture of what Industry 4.0 is, because perhaps it's not clear for everyone. So Industry 4.0 is the subset of the fourth industrial revolution that concerned the industry. Okay, so the concept actually was coined by the German government back in 2011. Okay, and if you think about, so this is the revolution, right? So we had the first one with mechanization, then we had the electrical power for the second one, then came the digitization, and now the fourth one actually is built on the top of the third one for the past 70 years, and this is the fusion of advance in artificial intelligence, robotics, Internet of Things, 3D printing, well, quantum computing and all the stuff you can imagine. So many technologies, which make it very complex actually, because you have so many technologies to measure at the same time. And at the heart of the Industry 4.0 revolution is blockchain that potentially support all industry applications. So we discussed, many topics earlier, and actually it's more or less the same approach. We can, for example, talk about an obvious use case for the industry, which is the smart contract. So when you think about it, a smart contract is kind of broader than a service level agreement, SLA. And it can be a guarantor of protecting a SLA specification between a provider and a buyer from violation while providing security services required by the blockchain. So the blockchain actually brings much more security, data integrity, traceability, and trust as well. So this is all this combined that make it much more relevant for many use cases. Okay, so well, other use cases range from the fixed and static registries. Think about distributed databases for storing reference data, to payment infrastructures and many other such as blockchain as a service as well. So there are many use cases, and I will just give you 3 examples out of, I think, dozens that come to my mind, and this is all about transaction actually. So the first one I think is quite close to what Aurore mentioned with logistics, asset tracking and logistics, where we have many players involved, many actually service providers. If you think about manufacturing or site or for example oil and gas industry, they have some production sites and many service providers gravitating around for delivery, for many different actions, and all these transactions are still running on paper. So you need to sign a paper, then the paper is brought back to the office and so on, and this is not efficient. So smart contract reduce a lot of friction and deliver streamlined operations and transactional certainty between the different companies. So as a result, it improves margin, it increases productivity, you eliminate many hurdles, you increase working capital as well. So many benefits that you can get as an industry. The second example would be more related to what I'm doing. Actually, it's IoT. So telecommunications, I would say this way. This is not what we are doing, but we can see some companies willing to deploy IoT networks. So you put gateways, in a region or in a city or globally, and the concept is that you can deploy a network relying on hotspot. So if you think Wi-Fi, for example, you can ask people to deploy their own gateways and put this at home, or you think about my customers, industries, they deploy gateways as well for the industry, and you can actually use the network as a third party, right? So you connect to the network and use actually the technology to manage the transaction. So actually, what we can see now is a company that is bringing a new kind of crypto miner. What they do is that if you offer your services, if you offer access to your gateway, then it will actually mine crypto. So this is interesting to see that a new business model, I would say this way. So perhaps it's not always the best approach. Perhaps there are other ways that are more efficient. We talk about this after, especially the energy. But I think it's interesting to see what we can do now just to make sure that we have all transactions in the same ledger. And the third one I would like to discuss is utilities. And this is something that I'm involved in. Let's call this as energy as a service. You have a lot of transformation ongoing now in this space. The physical information flow in energy systems is actually increasingly complex and distributed. So it's no longer the utility sending the energy. Anyone actually can create its own energy and then distribute this one. So there is a need for, I would say, a solution that can help connect everyone. And blockchain, I think, has a role to play in this energy transition. So the idea is to facilitate distribution, peer-to-peer trading with reduced transaction costs and increased security to help the customer manage its energy needs. Obviously, there's many changes as well. It won't happen in a day for all the reasons discussed before, but this is very promising. So this is it for now. This is very high level, obviously, and many more to come in the future, I think. I just would like to give a few key takeaways, because I think blockchain today does not have to be the disintermediator to create value. I think it already creates value today. So this is the first one. The second is that perhaps blockchain short-term value will be more in the cost reduction in the first place, before perhaps creating some new business models. This is what we can see, and this is the case for IoT. We can see many different ways to leverage IoT this way. And the last one is perhaps it's we are still in its infancy, I would say this way, and we're perhaps 3 to 5 years away from going mainstream at scale for the industry. So many companies try to leverage on this. They go on a POC, they test it, they validate it, and they hopefully invest in the future. But this is here to stay, and I hope that we have more experts sharing their expertise and experience in this field in the future, so that we can learn more.
Thank you. It was quite quick because it's already 8 o'clock. So it's my favorite subject during this pandemic situation. Arnaud, can you talk a little bit about health tech, or what SITA is about to launch?
Well, I mean, maybe for sake of time, I propose to be very quick, and we can have, of course, a session if there is interest on this one. But another use case of blockchain, where it brings some value, it's all about proving in an indisputable way that your credential, so it could be even your driving license, your diploma, but currently, of course, your COVID testing, and soon your vaccination card, let's say your yellow fever card in a digital way, would be done in a kind of total trust. So right now, the problem of re-establish, air transport industry, reopening the border is just a problem of trust. How country A would trust that the passenger coming from country B would be clean with regard to COVID. There is already some solution which exist, but still relying on paper, which obviously lead to a lot of fake. And blockchain, and another fork, another branch of blockchain called self-sovereign identity framework, is really here to help, on one hand, to bring this trust, that when you will show your digital certificate in the form of QR code, for example, you will not only show something which is totally proven from a real proven issuer, but as well it will protect your identity, meaning that you will only disclose what you want to disclose to a verifier, let's say at the airline check-in or at the immigration. You will only disclose what is needed, and the airline or airport or immigration will not see any of your personal data. So for GDPR-like compliance. So it's so again, it's a bit too short to go into details, but yes, this is a very interesting topics, and there is many others as we look a bit earlier. But yes, happy again after this session to have a little survey to mention about what could be the next step.
Do I have 5 more minutes for my last question, Arnaud, or?
Yes. Before.
Yes. Okay, because we talk a lot about the positive aspect of the blockchain, why we have to use blockchain, and the challenges. But recently, not really recently, but blockchain technology is not always the best one to use. Sometimes just for the hype, and sometimes this technology has a really negative impact. Arnaud Boulay, can you explain us why, or just elaborate on it?
Yes, I won't get back to the point that this is a safe technology. This is the future. This is obvious, and there are many things that we address to this. But yeah, just a few points on this. I will start the first one. I think, which is efficiency, and it's the same story for many technologies. Today, if we talk about efficiency, I will talk about, for example, energy consumption. I know that this is perhaps not the case, but I think, because we are mining and we are not mining, so we are actually having some transactions on the blockchain. It uses a lot of power from data centers and others. And this actually, as a result, is not good for planet Earth. And I'm very involved in this with Time for the Planet, which is another topic. And I would like to make sure that the different players come with some solution that will make sure that they are very efficient in terms of energy consumption. Otherwise, I think we contribute a lot to the carbon footprint, unfortunately. So my expectation is that we get something that is moving toward carbon negative, or at least carbon neutral. That would be very important. And other thing is that, again, I compare this to the IoT space that I know quite well. It's about scalability. And we know that, for example, if you talk about crypto and especially Bitcoin, that the number of transactions, is somehow limited. So perhaps the same for the blockchain. Don't know exactly, but important to make sure that the solution can scale over time, because otherwise it won't be adopted by the industry. And another point that Guilhem discussed is the interoperability. This is an issue. We have to make sure that we don't get into the same game as we had with computers, many different things. And the last one is, on my side, is volatility. Because today, if you think, for example, of Ether for blockchain, the gas fees fluctuate a lot. And how can you, as an industry, make sure that you have a constant price over time? You don't want to play, the game of going from 0 to 40, or this is roughly the cost we can see. And perhaps there are some solutions we can find with finance. Think about the futures, which are the derivative financial contract, obligating the buyer to purchase an asset, or the seller to sell an asset at a predetermined future date and set price. I don't know if we can apply this, but I think it would be very important to make sure that we can get this, I would say, managed.
Thank you, guys. Thanks everyone for joining. We have a WhatsApp group, we mentioned. Don't hesitate to reach us out through this group about what you will be interested to deep dive. And just to announce that we are very proud to have a next speaker on the financial aspect, which seems to be one of the most important interest or concern from the community. Charles Dossi, who is managing director at Consensus based in Hong Kong. And he agreed that he would help us to animate one of the next event of French tech blockchain. Voilà, that's pretty much it.
So there is one question: how to join the WhatsApp group? Is just I will copy paste again the link.
Yeah,
before we shut down the. And there is another question. Probably the panelist will answer directly to you. Half-life plastic.
All right. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, it was quite quick.
Yeah, maybe just a reminder for the people that this is an open platform, and then we will listen what they want to hear, right? So some insights from industry. Let's discuss environmental issues or whatever. We can always schedule this discussion. So feel free to share all your ideas or concerns or things that you don't understand. And you can reach us on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and also we believe that our next event will be more about sharing and networking. We don't know if we will go on digital or face-to-face, but probably on digital. So we can be more proactive with your question and so on.
Okay.
So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. And
Thank you, everyone.
And talk to you on the WhatsApp group.
Bye-bye.
Merci beaucoup.